Okay, it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the July Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Was this meeting properly announced?
Yes, it was.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Let the record show all committee members are present. Need a motion to approve the agenda. Jay, John, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved. Need a motion to approve the June 7th minutes. Jody, John, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have some people signed up for public participation, and we'll get those when we get to those topics. Any correspondence? No. Everybody have a chance to look at the project status report. I don't believe there were any changes to it. Register of Deeds report. Any questions on it? Department head report.
We're in the middle of a busy season. Permit numbers are certainly reflecting that. We've kind of just been plugging away with same old every month.
Okay, any questions for Dusty on that? Surveyors report. Any questions? Land information? Any questions on that? Okay, we'll get into the public hearings. First one, Dusty.
The first application is for Harley Ray Miller and Ruth Miller. Reopen a tabled rezone request for a parcel 15.06 acres from A3 Secondary Ag District to B1 Business Rural Business District, approximately 2 acres, and A115 Exclusive Ag, approximately 13 acres on property located in the southwest northwest quarter, northwest quarter being lot 1 of CSM 5385, section 29, town 16 north, range 6 east, parcel 10-770-15 in the town of Easton. The address is 2848 Highway 13. I did receive. There were questions from the DOT. They do, if this were to be approved, they do have to work with the DOT and have a change of use address or change of use for their driveway. The town of Easton did deny the request at their meeting on, I don't have the date of their meeting, but the reason was the town of Easton denies the request as it goes against our comprehensive plan. However, the town would like to request the fees waived and the applicants to request a rezone to A115 of 15.06 acres with a conditional use permit for a permanent sawmill and recognize the harness and tarp shop to be considered as specified under 405-30.1, A135 and A115 C1A as a farm family business. As the Plan Commission was made aware that the harness and tarp business will be run by the father and sons and would exist in existing farm structures on portions of the existing farmstead that are not dedicated to agricultural uses. And then I did receive correspondence from the highway commissioner. The highway department does not control access on Highway 13. Contact the DOT. And that's all I received.
Okay, is the applicant in the room? Would you like to give us a little more information on what you're trying to do? Help him turn on the mic if it isn't.
Yeah,
I don't know how to, I mean, this is kind of new to me.
That's new to us too.
Yeah. I'm just looking to have a sawmill for home business. Our own use and some home business. And a harness and tarp shop for, again, just for our community use mostly or local business. It's not a big business, not a business that'll be a lot of traffic or a lot of customers or however you say it. I don't know what else I would have. I think Jody and Mike or some of the others know more. I mean, I'm kind of, what else to say?
Okay. Thank you. Now we have some people signed up to speak on this rezone. Phil McLaughlin. Can you get to a microphone?
From what I understand, this proposal as is would leave a piece of A1 zone property that is less than the required 15 acres if the piece went to B1. So I don't know where in the world that anybody figures you can do that when the zoning ordinance clearly states that to be A115 has to be at least 15 acres. To further complicate it, I guess, in this situation, if the county can avoid, while working with the petitioners, if the county can avoid putting a spot, not to say it hasn't been done, but putting spot business zoning throughout the county, that it should be avoided. If you can avoid it, if it's the only way to maybe accomplish what a customer wants, that's a different story. But all these uses are consistent with agricultural use in respect as defined by the ordinance. The only thing that would come in, as far as the gentleman said, is if customers are going to occupy any of the buildings at any point, their buildings would have to be commercially constructed. Doesn't mean they gotta be commercially zoned, but they'd have to be commercially constructed. However, if they do mail order or drop off or whatever, make it a situation where the public is not entering the building, you don't have to have a commercially constructed building. So, and if somebody can explain to me if I'm missing something about the A115 zoning and it being less 15 acres when you're done. No, when somebody rezones a piece of their property, if they're successful, does that mean they have to survey it off? No, it doesn't. But I ought to take the scenario a step further. Let's say that you did that, even though I do not agree at all that you can create a zoning district less than the required acreage. But if you did, someday, more than likely, we might not see it, but that B1 zoned acre is going to be up for sale. Well, then it's going to have to get surveyed. Now you've further complicated an already screwed up situation, because now you clearly have a substandard A115 parcel. So I guess unless if I'm missing the boat here and somewhere, somebody should straighten me out.
Okay, thank you. Ray Shapey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Raymond Shapey, Easton resident, as well as being on the Plan Commission. The rezone did not comply or agree with the Easton Comprehensive Plan, either the current or the future map. We feel it would create a burden to Easton to track split zoning for future division. And we actually, as the Plan Commission, feels that there may be better alternatives to look at. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any questions from committee members for this rezone? Jody.
This question is for Jonai Mullet. Jonai, will you be allowing the public to come into the buildings that you are going to be using for the harness repair or the tarp repair?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? John?
So just a technical question for lack of understanding here, Dustin. If we vote no to this, is it possible to get the conditional use permit or do they have to apply for that separately?
I would think they'd have to apply separately, but
Right, we would have to go through the whole process, publish it as a conditional use. The whole process would start over from the beginning, essentially.
Jody?
Justin, can you maybe, I don't know, walk through why this was proposed the way it was? Because it does seem, reading what's available in the ordinance, that there are alternatives. I think everybody is looking at the alternatives, because we don't want to stop individuals from being able to use their property. So maybe you could explain this further, because it's confusing.
So the reason that this was the route that I suggested the applicants take is because the sawmill is listed in here, and that would remain on the, or that would be on the A115 portion, and that would be that would work. The harness and tack shop can be to some extent considered an ag business. I think that's easily resolved with a conditional use permit. The hangup is the tarp portion of the business. Really has nothing to do with ag. It can, but during my conversations, it's if you own a boat, they could make a new canvas top for you. And I don't feel that meets the definition of a family farm business.
Jody?
So when I read, and others have also pointed this out to me, farm family business, you can have a secondary non-agricultural business. How would the tarp business not fall underneath that?
It doesn't talk about the, I'm trying to find, or I'm looking at the definition C1A, I believe was the one that was referred to.
Correct. Farm family business, including home occupations and professional home office conducted within existing farm residences or structures or portions of the existing farmstead that are not dedicated to agricultural uses. Not dedicated to agricultural uses. I just repeated that for emphasis. No more than 2 persons who are not members of the resident family, farm family may be employed by the farm family business. So also at the town meeting, we were made aware that it would be a father and sons kind of family endeavor. So there aren't, and maybe Joan, I could answer to this, there are no persons outside of the resident farm family, and it does say not dedicated to agricultural uses. So again, I'm gonna ask you to maybe clear up some confusion.
Sure. So the not dedicated to agricultural uses is any of the buildings or whatever they're using. This is going in an existing barn shed that was on the farm. Whether they're using it today as a ag use or not, probably, or it doesn't sound like it. It was still made that way. If it still needs to be some type of farm business. That's why it's called a farm family business. Otherwise, any business, as long as you don't put it in the barn or shed, could be built there. Provided you have the 2, no more than 2 persons who are not members of the resident farm family. So if you are essentially opening a manufacturing of the tarp manufacturing business, I don't feel that meets the definition of a farm family business.
Okay, is there anyone else in the room that hasn't spoken already that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there anyone in the room that wishes to speak against this proposal? Phil? You talked already, but go ahead.
Thank you anyway. I don't agree with the conclusion of the zoning administrator. I would ask this, as the individually, the committee, have any of you or have you read the definition of a use consistent with agriculture? That sheds a lot of light on the whole situation. I mean, you're gonna, if you look that up, you're gonna find some things there that you probably weren't expecting. Reading that term in the ordinance without looking at the definition, everybody develops a certain thought of what that phrase means, use consistent with agriculture. But there's an actual definition. I encourage you to read that. And again, I don't agree with the conclusions. It also says, professional home offices. So if a person's a life insurance salesman, that's not necessarily an ag use. So you're saying that you can't do it when the ordinance clearly says professional home offices. So I find holes in the argument that isn't consistent with a conditional use as a use consistent with agriculture.
Randy?
Yeah. And I don't want to argue the little points, Phil, but weren't we always under the impression, since I've been on the board, that a home business, like an insurance, as you bring up insurance, could be done in any zoning as long as it was done in the main home?
That's entirely different. We're not talking about residential zoning.
But I said any zoning. I didn't say.
I'm not gonna commit to that, because I don't remember if that's a pretty broad term.
But it was.
I go back to the case at hand, not any other zoning, discuss the case at hand. And again, if, shame on the committee members if you haven't read that definition of use.
Jody?
So I'm going to read this to everybody. A business activity or enterprise, whether or not associated with an agricultural use that is conducted by the owner or operator of a farm that requires no building structures or improvements other than those described in paragraph A or C, and that goes into the existing structures, that employs no more than 4 full-time employees annually, and that does not impair or limit the current or future agricultural use of the farm or of other protected farmland. So again, it says whether or not associated with an agricultural use. And I believe that is the definition Phil is referring to, if I'm correct, Phil?
It is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, it's up to the committee. Jody?
I guess I don't know how to navigate this, because what I would like to say is that we allow the individuals to come back a second time, knowing that maybe an A-115 with conditional uses put on it would be an acceptable exchange. I know they've paid fees. So I don't know how to navigate that, if anyone could enlighten me.
Any ideas, Dusty?
One option you would have is the board could amend the application and take care of the rezone portion. But because the conditional use wasn't published, you can't decide that. And as far as the fee goes, it does cost our department money to reapply or to publish it. I guess if the committee votes
Would tabling be an option? Jody?
So if Dustin is agreeable to that, I would make a motion to amend this rezone to be a A115 of 15.06 acres. And then have the petitioners come back with a conditional use request next month.
So you want to table it?
No, I don't want to table it. I wish to amend and approve with an A115 15.06 and take the B1 out. So amend it to get rid of the B1, A115 for 15.06 acres, and then have the petitioners come back next month with a conditional use permit request.
Can we do that?
I think what Dustin just said, if I'm,
No, I mean, can we do that here?
that's what I think he just
You can
said.
do the amending the application. For just the rezone portion. The request was to go to A115 and B1, going to just A1. That's amending the request. The committee could certainly do that. The earliest we could hear the conditional use would be our September meeting.
Yeah, after their meeting.
Well,
Distance meeting.
we have publication requirements and we've missed the deadline already. I don't think I can still get it on for July or, excuse me, August.
Even a cut request would have to go back through their
Yep,
Easton's.
that too.
John?
What do we have to do so that they don't have to pay the $400 again? That's where, like, we're already dragging it out for them and making this a longer process than what it should have been. And then to make them pay the extra fee on top of it is just, I think, unnecessary. So how do we make this as painless as possible?
Good question. I don't know if it require, I mean, if I have. I don't know if I have the authority to waive that fee. Or if it would have to be on next month's agenda, and I would just not take a fee until. We'd have that option, or. If the committee next month then says, don't charge a fee as an agenda item, we don't charge a fee. I don't know if I have the ability to to say one way or the other.
Jody?
So the waiving of the fee, my understanding is there's a rezone fee, which is what, 400?
Oh.
And there's a conditional use fee, which I think is 200, 300. If we amended the rezone, then they've already paid that fee. Right? So the next fee for the conditional use would still be on them. So the waiving of the fee is to make sure that we're handling the rezone appropriately. The conditional use would still have a fee connected to it as they all do. I'm just.
That's standard operating. I mean,
Okay, so.
yeah, that doesn't require anything special.
Well, what if they had to come back through for an A115 exclusively? So if we can amend it and finish that rezone tonight and then have them do the conditional use besides, so. So, thank you.
So I need a motion. To amend the rezone and move to approve.
I'll make that motion.
To amend the rezone to A115
15.06 acres.
and throwing out the B1 request. And Jay seconds the motion. Any further discussion on that? Bruce?
Should we get the petitioner to agree to the amendment? Just on the record?
You agree with what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, roll call vote.
Knockreiner,
Yes.
Thiessen.
Yes.
Dolzel,
Yes.
Carvillo. Churko.
Yeah.
Shapey,
Yes.
Gilner,
Yes. Okay. The rezone has to go before the full county board on 18 July. Okay. Next one.
The next application is for Lucia Parenta and Jennifer Horner, rezone request for a parcel 7.188 acres from R3 Versatile Residential District to A3 Secondary Ag District on property located in the northeast quarter, northwest quarter, being lot 1 of CSM 6720, section 16, town 17 north, range 6 east, parcel 2-773-10, town of Adams, address 1069 County Road M. I did receive a call from Mary Ann Bays. She had no objections to the request. I did receive correspondence from the highway department. They have no concerns with the request. And the town of Adams at their meeting on June 20th does not object to the request. And I believe that is all I have.
Okay, is the requester in the room? Online?
I'm here in Zoom.
Would you like to further explain your request?
Excuse me, we actually bought the property from the Bazes, from Marianne and Jim Bays, about almost 2 years ago. And we were not aware, we admittedly did not look into it very well, and we're not aware that we weren't allowed to have animals. So we did have a few cattle when we moved in. And so we had just kind of thrown up, we moved very quickly. The opportunity to buy the land and the home from Marianne and Jim came very quickly. And so we threw up some cattle panels with some T-posts and very quickly threw the cows back there. And they were small at the time. They grew a little bigger, and they found a couple weak spots in the fence, and they got out a few times. And we are in the process now. We spent quite a bit of money and are in the process of building a much larger fenced in area back there. We cleared some of the land, which has taken us a long time, but because we're doing it ourselves. So we've cleared a lot of the land and are making a nice big actual fence to hold the cows. But in the meantime, they did get out a couple of times, and we always got them back in quickly. But and at that point, someone must have called. And so we got the letter from planning and zoning saying, you're not even, zoned for cattle. And so then we actually quickly took all the cattle and we sold them at Equity Livestock. We sold them and got rid of them right away. And I contacted Dustin, and he explained to me that we weren't zoned correctly. So I filled out all the paperwork to get us rezoned. And that's where we're at now.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee members? Jody?
Dustin, doesn't R2 also allow for livestock the same number that A3 would?
The current R2 does allow for some things, except this property is owned R3.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, instead of A3, would R2 have also allowed them the same number of animals? If that would have been a possibility.
Give me 1 second, I believe so, but. Yes.
So are there other reasons for the A3 versus staying within the residential zoning but going to R2?
This opens up a little bit more options on the ag realm. And clearly their intended use is agricultural. So and it does fit within the size requirements for it. It does for R2 as well, but.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious why we took that jump. So thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone who would like to speak against this request? Yes, sir. Give your name and address.
My name is Tony Skedulewski. I live at 1073 County Road M, which is next door to 1069. And the property that we had has been in our family for almost 30 years. And Stella and Uncle Ted purchased that back in 90s. When they got old, we purchased it from them, my wife and myself. They purchased it as residential property because that was very important to them. They used to live on 9th Drive next to a farmland, and they wanted to make sure that they live nice, peaceful life in residential area. We purchased it also as residential, thinking same way, fresh air, peace. 2 years ago, everything changed. We started getting visitors, bulls, pigs. Right next to our front stairs, I have a bunch of videos here on flash drive and on my cell phone if anyone is interested to see this. My understanding is that A3 zoning is to preserve the existing farms, small farms, especially small farms. So people can exist and keep on farming for years and years. We're trying to set up a precedence to something totally new, changing it from residential to farmland. I don't think that's fair to us and other neighbors who are also present here today that were buying these properties as residential. And now we're waking up with the possibility of having cattle ranch next to us or pig pen, which is still there as of today. You come back to my backyard and enjoy the smell, very welcome. Stench is unbearable. So for the last 2 years, these people have proved that they can't even restrain their cattle. Should we reward people that broke the law with rezoning their property so they can maybe add even more cattle, pigs? I don't know. I ask everyone on board to please reconsider this and take our situation into consideration. Don't know what else. I would just want a peace in our property. We purchased this as our retirement home. We were in the process of moving to this residence as our permanent residence 2 years ago. Everything had to stop because for the time being, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wishes to speak against this request?
My name is Krystyna Porepska. We bought the house on the Dixie. We are backyard neighbors. Our property is almost touched together. We afraid about the animals coming to our property because it's so close, everything. I saw the video of the men, I'm sorry, how's the animals coming in their property and running around like the pig, like the cow, make the mess and everything. They have the nice garden area, like the vegetable garden area. They supposed to be, everything will be broken because they was running. I think so, and so we are afraid about the water. I checked the water right away. It's a lot of nutrition and a lot of other things is in the water now, chemicals. We afraid the water will be coming to our property and will be poison, make the poison because it's the farms, like animal farms, the pig, everything is going down. we are afraid about those. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else like to speak against this request? Seeing none, it's up to the committee.
Dustin, how much would it limit, as Jody asked, if they went to an R2 zoning from an A3, if there was so it limited them, out of curiosity?
The way the R2 district reads. The uses are the same as R1 and R1 LL, which is mainly houses, as well as ag activities compatible with rural residential living, such as gardening, raising seed, grain and fruit crops, beekeeping, horse grazing and stables, and limited livestock on that one livestock unit per acre. When you get to A3, it adds in some of the stuff that's in A115, so then they would be getting into potentially sawmills, fur farms, fish farms, some government uses. Facilities used to provide veterinarian services for livestock, so it definitely expands the ag or ag related abilities.
What about animal units?
Still, under A3, it is still. Right here. Livestock shall not exceed one livestock unit per acre, so it's exactly the same.
Exactly.
Would entertain a motion on this request. Jody? Yeah? What? Is the 7 acres the part in the?
In the black, yep. And the first gentleman that spoke is the northwest corner of that's cut out around, yep, where the cursor is there.
Jody?
I heard a concern about water flow, but I'm not.
No, not water flow, water,
For well?
the well, contaminated well.
Could I ask Mr. Horner a question? I'm not on speaker. Could I ask the petitioner a question?
Sure.
Ms. Horner, knowing that R2 would stay, if we changed from A3 to R2, you'd still be able to have your limited livestock, but it wouldn't open up to other agricultural pursuits that are defined in A3 that Dustin Grant made mention to. Would you be comfortable with that type of rezone?
Yeah, actually, I just did whatever Dustin told me to do while we were talking on the phone, for whichever rezone I need, just to be able to have the animals that we wanted. We don't need more than that. So I would be perfectly fine with R2 as long as we could have, the cattle. We don't intend to have any more, to have the pigs anymore. We don't intend to have anything else besides the cattle and chickens. So that's it.
My understanding, because I attended the Town of Adams meeting for a different reason, was that you actually are caring for kind of baby calves, right? Reaching up to a certain age and then selling them. Is
Yep.
that still your intention?
Yep. Yeah, we only want to do small, we buy them small and we only want to keep them to about 6 months of age and then sell them off to equity, sell them off, and that's all we will be doing. So buying them, 1 day old and then keeping them for 6 months and selling them.
Okay. How many times a year?
Twice a year.
Okay,
I don't like to do it in the winter. It's too cold to go out there.
sure. Thank you.
I would still entertain a motion.
So is this where we make another motion to amend the rezone request to R2? Dustin, do you want to weigh in on that? I mean,
Yeah, now would be the time to make the amendment. The town would have the option, and it would be the same with the east and on the last one. The town does get to weigh back in if they don't like that choice. But yeah, now would be the time to amend it, and based on what they're saying, it would work in both districts.
okay, I will make a motion to amend the rezone request to go to an R2.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the rezone in R2 versus A3. No, sir.
Just, could I clarify? That would be 8 animal units for
Se-
7.82 acres, right?
7 animal units.
7 animal units.
And Jay seconds. Any further discussion? I tend to agree with the gentleman over there. If this were happening right next to me, I'd not want it to. Being in residential area,
Whole bunch of
Sure.
details. No?
being in a residential area and you want animals right next door? Especially a lot of animals? That's my feelings on it.
Mr. Chair, I tend to agree with you. I would not like to move in to a residential area and all of a sudden have these farm animals.
Can I say that, am I allowed to speak again? I'm sorry.
Not at this time. Roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, could I also ask the adjoining parcel to the other side? What is that?
A115.
So, lack of a better term, I apologize, she's kind of piggy in the middle. And she's got almost 8 acres of land. Just pointing that out. Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote.
Thiessen,
Yes.
Dozel,
No.
Carvillo,
No.
Churko. No. Shapey,
Yes,
Gilner,
No.
Knockreiner.
No.
Okay, the rezone to R2 fails. I guess that's it.
That would have been the motion to amend the
That's the
application.
Okay,
So you still have the original application
okay.
sitting out there.
So I need a motion on the original application. From R3 to A3. Jay makes a motion. Bruce seconds. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Dozel,
No.
Carvillo,
No,
Churko. No. Shapey,
yes,
Gilner,
No.
Knockreiner,
No.
Thiessen,
Yes.
Dozel. Oops, sorry.
No again.
Okay, I believe that was 4 no's.
Yes.
Okay. The motion fails, rezone fails. Now we go on.
The next last application is for Swan Barn Door LLC, conditional use request under section 40538C of the Adams County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance for the use of a cabin resort on property located in the part northwest quarter, southwest quarter, 8-844, part north half, southwest quarter being lot 1 CSM 2794, 8-844-10, part of the south half, northwest quarter being part of lot 4 CSM 2244, 8-841-10, part of the southwest quarter, northwest quarter being lot 3 CSM 2244, 8-839-10. Section 34, Township 14 North, Range 6 East, Town of Del Prairie, 4144 is the address of one of the properties. We did receive correspondence from the town of Del Prairie. They do not object to the request. Lodging is similar to Birch Cliff across the street. And they suggested conditions, if approved, well and septic, subject to engineering up to 8 cabins or duplexes, and that was at their June 13th meeting. There should have been a plan included in there. And I got put in because it was too large. This is the, I'll pass this around.
Yeah, it was up there.
Okay. And I did not receive any other correspondence.
Okay, Mr. Swan,
Yes,
turn on your mic.
I did actually.
Talk into it then.
Green's on.
Could you further explain the request?
Well, yeah, we have a plans for 8 cabins, and the thing, what I think is like the main thing of the request is because there's 4 lots there that, they would have to have it would be better with it's kind of tough terrain right there if, maybe a shared septic and a shared well on maybe instead of 8 septics, like 4 septics and, 4 wells. And according to Scott Babcock, who we walked the land and he thought it was very doable, but he thought it would be best that we take this next step with the county before he proceeded any further as far as the layouts of the septics, which I think was the biggest hurdle.
Okay, these gonna be just separate rental cabins like
Yes.
for your customers?
Yes. I have some plans, kind of a design plans. I'd probably be hard to put, but I mean, I could pass them around if
If anybody wants to see them. Yeah. Jody,
What kind of occupancy are the cabins able to have?
are the cabins even there?
Well, I'm saying in the plans.
in the plans. That approximately would be able to sleep, you mean?
Yes.
Around a dozen people. They're larger, larger cabins than, I mean, just nicer.
So I'm gonna ask
To fit the whole
this,
wedding party?
right, I'm gonna ask this question because when someone builds a home, we base our septic off of occupancy. Knowing that they could fit up to 12 occupants, I would be very leery to share septic. So, or wells for that
They
matter.
have to do what the law allows. I mean, that's not our choice.
I thought,
They can only do what they are allowed to do.
so maybe Dustin can answer to that. Does that seem like a good idea to share septics?
I mean, I can't say a lot. We do have the situation where people do share septics. It still has to be sized appropriately and it's based on the number of bedrooms. So if you have 2 or 3, 4-bedroom houses, then you're putting in a 12-bedroom septic system. But the fact that 2 different structures feed into that doesn't inherently cause any issues.
Dustin, wouldn't this be the same as Emmerich Lake? They're doing large septics for multiple units and the same as, for example, Dell's Camping
Yep.
Resort.
Yeah.
I think they put in maybe 4 septics for 50, whatever that was state is allowed and designed,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number.
I don't know the
but
exact
there's a
number
lot of
either.
systems out there.
Okay.
Jody?
Would the pumping schedule be the same as what residential septic owners are expected to follow through with?
Yes.
So each residence has to pump their system, what is it, every 2 years,
3.
every 3? And we'd be halving that amount because the septics would be shared. Correct?
No,
Well, I'm just saying, instead of having 8 septic systems, we would allow them to decrease to 4. They'd still follow the same time frame of pumping, but they would half their expense of the actual pumping of the septic systems because their number is now cut in half.
not necessarily. I mean, what you're saying is correct that they would only have half the systems. However, the systems that they're putting in would be twice as large. And a lot of times that's what the,
The expenses.
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Jay,
And these are year-round cabins?
Yes.
Thanks.
Rocky, and I'm still confused. Cabins and duplexes, somebody mentioned duplexes. Are we talking 4 duplexes for 8 cabins or
No, actually just cabins.
so eight cabins?
Yes.
Okay.
The town mentioned that in their sheet. I don't know where they came up with the duplex part.
Jody?
So it says on here, wells and septic subject to engineering up to 8 cabins / something. I can't, duplexes. That's where the duplexes come in. Is the town aware of the sharing, or are they saying however it's engineered, we don't care, we just want wells and septic, however that works out?
I don't know. I wasn't at their meeting.
I can't
only go by
speak.
What's on the paper.
Right. I can't speak for what they decided at the meet or like how they worded that exactly.
The,
The bottom line, it does have to meet the state sanitary code for all aspects of all parts of that.
Jody?
Is this something we should table, send it back to the town and say, what were you asking?
Why?
When it comes to the
there
well
was
and
a
septic?
print included. There's, excuse me for interrupting, but
Sure.
the exact print actually that doesn't is, it says right on there, it says for potential sharing of septics and wells, which the town approved. I mean, they have.
So they were well aware of it,
Yeah.
is all I'm asking.
Otherwise,
okay.
right, I could have just got a building permit that wasn't.
Sure, sure.
Right.
As long as they signed off on that, I have it in my notes too, so I just wanted to make darn sure. So
I have
thank
it
you.
here.
Bill?
I have a straightforward question for the zoning administrator. There's not really an issue with shared wells or septics. I know I'm aware that there's other situations in the county where that's been done for various reasons. The question I have, pure and simple. Are the systems gonna be based on bedrooms or actual occupancy? Because there's a huge difference. Bedrooms counts for 2 people. Each bedroom accounts for 2 people. And so I'm just very direct question. Are the septic gonna be based on bedrooms or occupancy?
Generally, or almost always, they are based on the number of bedrooms. That's the default method in the state sanitary code.
I'm aware of that. I just want everybody else to be. And so you can draw your own conclusions to that. I just pointing out that the issue isn't really sharing a septic, it's what the capacity is. It's like the short-term rentals, and sorry to throw that in there, but most all of those have an undersized system for the activity because they got maybe 2 bedrooms, but they got 20 people in there.
Bruce?
They put in a request for a zoning change. Is it this,
No.
I'm
Conditional
sorry, for
use.
conditional, is it this committee's focus to decide what the septic should be?
No. They have to
Okay.
meet the
Right.
planning and
Yeah,
zoning
so I guess
rules.
that's my point. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Do we want to put any conditions on a conditional use permit? Or in this case, it's kind of self-regulating.
The town did not put any, correct? I didn't hear you say any.
Yeah, the town said they have to follow the laws.
Yeah, they really only addressed the well, or that's the only thing they mentioned.
Yeah, Jody,
Is there anyone from the public for or against on here?
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
I got my little cheat sheet here. Okay. Is there anyone out there that would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anybody that wishes to speak against this request? Hearing none, it's up to the committee.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Carvelli. Turco.
Yeah.
Shapey,
No.
Gilner,
Yes.
Knockreiner,
Yes.
Thiessen,
Yes.
Dozel.
Yes.
Okay, conditional use request passes, and this does not have to go to the full county board. You just got to deal with Dusty. Okay, that concludes the public hearing portion of the meeting. Yes,
On that first hearing, we took a vote on the amendment to the rezone, but then did we take a vote on the overall rezone? We did two? Okay, thank you. That second one kind of made me a little cautious. Thank you.
okay, everybody have a chance to look at the financial report. Are there any questions?
I do want to point out one thing, these are now a month behind. Again, they used to be, we wanted the number 15 and 16 together. If you look at number 16, it's a newly formatted. That was what I sent out, corrected now. Still tweaking the format. Let me know what you think. But in order to get, what happens is when we do deposits at the very end of the month or the first, it takes some time for that to get reflected. So we can't run a report immediately, and our meeting is so early in the month. So really the only way that we can do it is to fall a month behind. So that's what those numbers are, and you can see its comparison as to where we were
To take out the B1.
cumulatively. I think that addresses what you were looking for. With that being said, we are mostly on course. Total revenue is at the end of May anyway, was within $2,700. Permit wise, we are about 70 ahead, actually.
Did you do the permit report?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then, next meeting date. Oh, wait a minute. Number 17, Mark Beta wants to speak.
We would like meeting time to stay at 7 days, to better accommodate those of us that work 9 to 5 and have to commute to get here. Thank you.
Okay. Next meeting date
Mr.
is,
Chair? May I also ask a question?
sure.
Could I have the people that would find a meeting time of 6 PM to be more convenient than a 5 PM stand up? Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm gonna keep the meeting at 5 PM. And the next meeting date is August 2nd.
I'd like to make a motion to change that to 6 PM, sir.
Motion's been made to change the meeting time to 6. Do we have a second? John? Okay, roll call vote to change the time to 6.
Turco,
Yes.
Shapey,
Yes.
Gilner,
No.
Knockreiner,
No.
Thiessen,
No.
Dozel.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, meeting's at 6 PM, August 2nd. You what?
I didn't get to do Carvillo yet.
Well, if you'd sit up in the front row,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Could I also make a suggestion or motion? I don't know how we can go about this, but to be going back and forth on the times, could we maybe make a motion for this to remain in effect for 6 months?
I'm not gonna take that. We'll do it case by case.
So every month, we're going to be at the same crux of the situation.
Potentially.
Thank you.
Do we have any ordinances to sign? Okay, don't forget to sign the ordinances before you leave. Meeting's adjourned.